Welcome.
My name is Kayla Marie Williams.
I'm Lorraine Cipriano.
And we are Women Unbound, which is a new organization that's us at this point.
Yes.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/womenunbound, and this is our first event, so we want to thank you for being our first speaker. We'll talk more about her in the introduction, so Lorraine will tell you a little bit about our organization.
So Women Unbound is going to be a new literary series that showcases the work of women writers with a focus on local authors either from or now working in Northwest Ohio and or Southern Michigan. Each reading will take place on a Saturday afternoon, mainly every other month, starting today from 2 to 4 here at the Sanger Branch Library in West Toledo. Each reading will have a featured theme that female authors will explore through their presented work. Refreshments will always be provided. All are always welcome to attend. We did want to thank a couple of people. So we'd like to thank the library first for having us.
Yay, library.
Yay, library. And we'd also like to thank Sharon McGill.
Yeah, Sharon McGill is a friend of mine I went to graduate school with. She's not here. She doesn't live in Ohio, but she is an artist. She has a page called McGill Illustrations, and she's the one that did the poster for our event. If some of you guys saw the poster, it's pretty impressive, and you can go to check out McGill Illustrations. So she did the design for the poster, and we're hoping that she will design our logo too. So, and she did this for free, so we're trying to raise funds to pay her for the work because it's really, really nice work. So
another thing that I'll mention is at each event going forward, we're going to encourage local female artists to donate items that we will raffle off for free. So we're trying to kind of build like a supportive network for both local female artists and local female authors.
Right, so it won't just be female writers, but it'll also be visual artists.
Right.
So we'll have that involved with our raffle. So you'll get to see local artists from Michigan and Ohio as well.
And we are also, just so everybody knows, welcome.
Welcome. Oh, stop.
Oh wait, you have to do that.
Raffles. Yeah.
Themes coming up.
Oh, we have some themes coming up. We have 2 sign-up sheets there. Obviously, one is so you can get our events emailed to you directly, not just following our Facebook page. And also there's a sheet if you're interested in reading or you're a female artist and you'd like to donate some of your items to raffle. We have upcoming themes, so they'll all be in this room on Saturdays. So in February 1st, we're going to have The Truth About Love. March 1st, we're going to have Goddesses, Mermaids, Nymphs, and Fairies. April 5th, for Poetry Month, we're going to have an intergenerational event, which means we're going to have poets, young poets, grade school, all the way up until 90 years old. So it's an intergenerational reading. And in June, we're going to have The Future, so we'll have speculative fiction. So it's going to be pretty cool, and hopefully the library told us with the success of this event they will try and sponsor us more, meaning that they'll do our materials. We did everything ourselves here today. So for our first event, we are truly honored to have as our guest speaker Feliza Casano. Thank you so much for coming. She's our superstar today. Feliza is the founder and editor of the web magazine Girls in Capes, girlsincapes.com. And Girls in Capes is also on Facebook. You can like it and follow the feed. Great stuff. Toledo native, she is an alumna of the University of Toledo and the first graduating class of Toledo Early College High School, which we may have some reps in here today represent. Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming, y'all. Currently, she is a candidate for the MA in Publishing at Rosemount College outside of Philadelphia. We're so pleased to have her here. Thank you so much, Lisa Casano.
Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to thank Lorraine and Kayla for inviting me here today. I was really excited to come back to my hometown. I was born and raised in Toledo, Ohio, and currently live outside Philadelphia. And I have a very special relationship with the library. I've been going to the library forever, since I was very young. The Toledo Heights branch in South Toledo, and I have always loved books. My first exposure to a female hero was during the summer before I started 6th grade, just after I turned 11 years old. At At the time, I spent my summer just completely buried in books, just hauling 10 or 20 books back from the library every single week, which really annoyed my mother to no end. But it shouldn't surprise anyone that the first female hero I met was a character in a book. The hero in question was Celadre of Mindolin, at that point aged 10 years, and the third young woman to feature prominently in the fantasy universe of author Tamora Pierce. Kel was the subject of a series called The Protector of the Small Quartet, and she was a girl who wanted to become a lady knight, just like Alana of Trebon, the first female hero to feature in Tamora Pierce's work, whose story played out in the Song of the Lioness Quartet. It's important to mention Alana, even though I'm talking about Kel, because it's important to note that Kel did not come first. While Alana chose to disguise herself as a boy named Alan to become a knight, Kel chose to be herself, the first girl in her country to openly study for knighthood as a girl and, later on, as a woman. The differences between the girl hero Kel and her lady knight role model don't end there. In true fantasy hero fashion, Alana was not only an unsupervised orphan with a magic cat, she was also blessed and guided by a goddess. But Kel was a completely different sort of hero. She was a younger daughter in a large diplomatic family, and Kel wasn't touched by a goddess or advised by a magical pet. She was tall, and she was a little plain, and she was kind-hearted and firm, and in many ways, she was much more of a normal girl than a fantasy hero. But Kel was just the kind of hero I needed to meet when I was 11 years old. The funny thing about people without the hand of the goddess on them is that they've got to work a lot harder to get the same things, just because they don't get the advantage of having their path smoothed out by capital F fate. And I don't know about any of you, but I definitely don't have the hand of God on me. I jokingly leave that to my boyfriend. There is no capital F fate. There's no capital F fate or capital D destiny plotted out for me. And there definitely is not a magic cat. My very first hero at age 11 didn't teach me the value of superhuman strength. Celadre of Mindolin taught me perseverance in the face of adversity. From her first day as a page, she was singled out by her teachers and put on probation because she was a girl. She was harassed and threatened by anonymous vandals because she was a girl. She was told that it was never possible to achieve worth because she was a girl. Yet despite all that, and despite knowing she would be slandered and maligned for the rest of her life, she persevered towards her goal. She pushed herself mentally, physically, and emotionally to attain her goal of one day helping those who couldn't help themselves, a goal which led her to become known as the Protector of the Small. The second time I was exposed to a female hero came a few years later, when a particularly rough high school experience sent me searching for someone or something I could feel like I could relate to. You could say that the second hero I found was also a protector of the small of sorts. At 15, I read Wonder Woman the Hikatea, and my world completely changed. The Hikatea is a Wonder Woman graphic novel written by Greg Rucka, chronicling an episode between a young woman named Danielle and Wonder Woman herself that centers on a ritual called Hikatea, in which Danielle pledges her lifelong servitude in exchange for Wonder Woman's protection. Before she even starts the ritual of Hikatea, the reader sees that Danielle has killed a man in Gotham City, and the reason that she needs protection from Wonder Woman is because Batman is pursuing her to bring her to justice. Yet we don't learn why she's killed a man until the story's almost over, and Wonder Woman herself doesn't care to learn. As she says, "The reason doesn't matter, Danielle, only the ritual." The Hikatea is a story of Greek tragedy. It's a story about duty and compassion. Though not all those who adore Wonder Woman do so for the same reasons, it's those two qualities I find incredibly compelling. It may be Wonder Woman's duty to protect those who need protecting, but it's Princess Diana of Themyscira's duty to uphold the rituals and the customs of her people. Compassion motivates Wonder Woman to fight for the protection of the world, just as it motivates Diana to ensure that there's peace. In his introduction to Who is Wonder Woman, Brian K. Vaughan says Wonder Woman is full of contradictions, but the Hikatea shows how her otherwise contradictory actions are motivated by 2 points on Diana's moral compass: duty and compassion. Now, I will be the first to admit the stuff of Greek tragedy can be both boring and a little heavy for a 15-year-old. That was the same year I had to read Oedipus Rex, and it didn't go quite the same way. But at 15, my life was changing. It was time for my childhood to end and my journey towards adulthood to begin. And nothing screams adulthood like duty. I mean, honestly, duty is just another word for responsibility, and wouldn't we all appreciate a few more responsible 15-year-olds in the world? But joking aside, age 15 was a major crossroad in my life, and the things that I did and the decisions I made brought me to the point I'm at now, 7 years after the fact. Did it change me to read a modern tragedy of duty? Did a story of kindness and compassion alter me in any way? It would be really nice if I could say no, and if I could say I'm the kind of person who isn't swayed by novels and movies. But the truth is that all of us are infected in many ways by fiction, by the stories told and the heroes sung. The stories and heroes that affect us most deeply often touch us the most deeply. So maybe there's a better question that I should be asking. Did it matter that the two stories that inspired me as a child and as a teen were both about women? Growing up as an Asian American girl meant more than a little difficulty finding heroes and protagonists I felt like I could relate to. I'm a child of the 90s, but I may have been one of the only girls I knew who didn't go through a princess stage. I was more interested in earthworms than princess dresses. And though Ariel and Jasmine were considered very forward as you know, Disney princesses go, I never really considered abandoning my family for a boyfriend or getting kidnapped by an evil sorcerer as one of my life goals. Before I read Diana's tale of duty and compassion in the Hikatea, Disney's movie about Chinese folk hero Fa Mulan connected elementary school Feliza to a young woman who valued duty and compassion very highly. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, Mulan is the only child in her family when war comes to China, and the emperor asks each family to send one man to go to the army. Her father's a war hero with a bad leg, and to save him from going to war, while still fulfilling her family's duty, Mulan disguises herself as a man and enters the army in her father's place. Mulan's sense of duty to her family, and the compassion that leads her to self-sacrifice in a very real and active manner, is a far cry from the "someday my prince will come" school of Disney protagonists. In a world devoid of princes to come along someday, a young girl needs to see heroes like Mulan, who saves her country not by being big and strong, but by thinking critically and solving problems creatively. The world is not a fairy tale, and girls are more likely to become working knights like Keladri of Mindolin than blessed warriors like Alan of Trebond, and much more likely to become creative problem solvers like Mulan than ball-gowned nobles like Cinderella. And it's incredibly important for the stories that we see and the heroes that we elevate to reflect that fact. The world needs female heroes like Kel and Mulan, who achieve their heroism through hard work and the integrity of their character, and stories like the Hikatea, developing female protagonists' role and motivations, just beyond being a good guy. Just as male heroes struggle internally, female heroes should also be developed with the same depth and quality. Heroes like Kel and Wonder Woman inspired me to aim for dedication, compassion, and hard work, just as their counterparts in the real world, such as the author of the Protector of the Small series, and, oh, person I consider a real-life Wonder Woman, Gloria Steinem, inspired the choices that led me down my current road. The website I manage, Girls in Capes, aims to help connect young women with the stories and heroes that they can become inspired by. And I think the character Danielle says it best in the Hikatea when she tells Wonder Woman, "All I ever wanted was to be like you, to be strong and good, to be like you, and to do what you would do." Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was
Yes.
amazing. I almost cried. I'm holding it back. We'd like to present you with a gift, so if you want to come up, please.
Just a small token.
Yeah. You told us how much you love caffeine. And then we would also like to present you with your own Supersheroes poster. Here's our card. You can read that later. So let's all give another round of applause to Feliza for coming. Being awesome and kicking off our first event. We do want to open up for questions.
Sure.
So if anybody has any questions to ask her about her work or some of the things she was saying, please go ahead. Questions. Don't be shy.
Yes?
Who do you see as like real life female role models that you kind of see as superheroes?
Well, one real woman that I really greatly admire is Tammy Duckworth. She's a U.S. veteran. She lost both of her legs in action, and now she serves, I believe, on the Senate or as a state representative. And she's just a fantastic, amazing woman. I'm sorry if you lose your legs in something like. She still wants to keep serving her country, even though she can't serve it in the military any longer. And I just find that so inspiring and so incredible.
More questions? Come on, don't be shy. Let's talk about stuff. She has an incredible amount of knowledge.
Do you track your website, like how many unique visitors you've had on it
Yes,
and so on?
yes. We track a lot of that kind of stuff.
It's getting out there, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Actually, we kind of have like doubled growth in the last month or so.
Is there anyone else like you following this Women in Capes, or are you primarily forging that territory?
There are a lot of really great websites out there. The Mary Sue's a really good kind of entertainment news source for women. There's a really great website called Black Girl Nerds. They do a podcast that's really great. Geeks Out is a really great LGBTQ resource for people who are interested in geek entertainment. Lots of really great places. Yes.
Do you take submissions from like fan submissions? Or...
In terms of articles?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Any questions about Wonder Woman or the history of Wonder Woman? Or anybody? I mean, I've been learning a lot about Wonder Woman and checking my facts with her. So, I mean, because there's really not as much out there as you think. Yes.
When do you think we'll see a Wonder Woman movie? Maybe we get so many male superhero movies.
It's actually been announced that Wonder Woman will make a very small appearance in the upcoming Batman and Superman movie. Unfortunately, there is no Wonder Woman movie in the works because Hollywood is dumb.
Wasn't there one in the old like?
That was a TV show.
Oh.
There was a TV show, Wonder Woman TV show starring Linda Carter in the 70s. Yes.
I have to ask, what do you think of her attire?
Wonder Woman's?
Yeah.
It's very funny. But it's actually, she's a little better covered up than a lot of female superheroes, to be honest. Like, a lot of them just have very strategically placed stickers almost. But my favorite one was from right around 2006 when she had like jeans, a red kind of tank top, and a black jacket. That storyline was kind of related to her going into hiding and to not be Wonder Woman but to still go out and fight crime. And that one honestly was the most reasonable thing for anyone. Like, even the men, honestly, why would you choose to go out to save the world in spandex? But that was very reasonable. That was a really, and it was really cool looking. She looked like she should be riding a motorcycle. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I did see on your girlsincapes.com website recently that you were talking about transgender issues with comics. Could you go a little bit into that?
We didn't really cover transgender issues in comics. We talked a little bit about how LGBTQ and especially transgender persons interact within the geek community, which we found is something that really needed attention brought to it. We talked about how, in particular, online geek communities are a lot safer for people because they don't have to come out and say, oh, I'm male, oh, I'm female. So they can just be themselves without having to reveal their gender or anything else about themselves. It's kind of sad that people feel that they have to hide who they are.
Right.
But it's a reality for a lot of people. Yes?
Can you define geek culture?
Well, for our purposes, geek culture is any form of is a lot of like sci-fi related entertainment, science fiction, speculative fiction, fantasy. We cover on our website TV and film, books, comics and graphic novels, gaming, and what we define as subculture, which is anything that's kind of fun and kind of related in there but isn't really covered by the first 4 categories. Yes?
I'm currently writing a novel, and the main character is a geek female. Do you have any advice on how to build her character development?
One of the most important things you could do to develop a character is decide what motivates her. A lot of motivations, I'm not sure if you're writing a young adult book or adult fantasy, but one unfortunate happenstance with a lot of young adult books is that the female protagonist is often motivated by getting a guy, and not everyone is motivated by that in real life, and something like I talked about, like duty or compassion or dedication, those are all very wonderful traits that build character. Even fear builds more character than wanting a boyfriend. So I would say pick what you value. Find what you value in your own life and build from there.
Protagonists do you find appropriate to not confuse the audience? Like, how many main characters?
The question was how many protagonists are kind of appropriate so as not to confuse the audience in a work. It really depends on the length of the work and how long the storyline is, and also how much time you spend developing each character. So. Yes?
I'm writing a story and I'm kind of stuck. Do you have any ideas to keep the story going?
The best thing that I do when I'm stuck on something is I go write somewhere else. I've found particular success writing on buses and trains and looking at things that I don't normally look at. I told one of my friends that. She said even just like moving to like a coffee shop or sitting in a restaurant or just sitting in a place you don't normally sit, just like you look at different things, you notice different things. So I would say just try like moving somewhere else. If you're stuck in terms of plot, think about kind of how the story progresses and things that you like and what moves the story forward there. Like, does it move forward because something comes crashing through the wall? Or does it move forward because the person decides that they need to go do something else? If all else fails, just write until you get back into it, because you can't move the story forward if you don't at least write something.
Well, I know what I want to happen, but I don't know how to get to that part.
Okay. Would either of you like to answer that? Since I know both of you are writers.
Oh, how to get to that part. For me, I mean, because that is difficult when you know how something's going to go, but then it's like getting the characters across the room to get there. Like, you could say, oh, I want her to die, right? I mean, no, I mean, I'm writing a novel now, and I want one of my characters to die. It's going to be terrible. But it's like, how do I get to that without people knowing she's going to die? Because nobody wants to be like, oh, she's going to die, you know? Like, page 20, she's going to die. Like, I hate this author or whatever. So I think what I do is I just write out scenes. So try to imagine them doing other things, and then just write out scenes, and then you can start connecting the scenes. That's the way I do it. Instead of thinking about the whole arc to the place, just think of them in situations and write the situations, and then you'll see the situations start to unfold on their own.
And if you, this is helpful advice to writers for me. If you actually think about it through like a movie perspective, that's kind of how I write, is through a perspective of a movie, really. The best way to actually think of something like that for scenes or plots or anything when you have writer's block is just listen to different kinds of music and think of different scenes that go along with it.
Yeah, music does help. It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can generate all kinds of ideas.
Sure.
Lyrics or without lyrics, it can pretty much help.
Yes.
You said that Mulan was your favorite Disney princess. Are there any other Disney princesses that you feel are help? I don't know how to say it.
Are not needing to get a prince.
Teaching some kind of lesson to little girls, like you can still be a beautiful lady and be awesome.
I think the movie Brave does a really good job with that. The movie Brave is a princess movie that is not about a princess who marries a prince in the end. You don't actually find out, because part of the issue that the protagonist Merida has in Brave is that her parents want her to marry one of 3 guys. And you never find out who she marries. The story is about her relationship with her mother. And I think that since it's focused, I mean, most people do have some form of relationship with their mother. And it's incredibly important to kind of focus on the fact that a romantic relationship is not the only important not the only important relationship. So I think Brave is a very good example of a story about a princess who is learning something about real life that real girls can apply to their own lives. Yes?
I know you guys are talking about how Wonder Woman's appearance has changed over time.
Yes.
So do you think that how Jim Lee draws her in the New 52 comics, how he draws her, I mean, it's the same basic design as how she was drawn originally, but do you think that there's some sort of difference between the two next to just details?
Virtually no. This is kind of technical stuff, but some of the reasons that they did change her uniform in the New 52 was to take away the American imagery, which is why instead of having like blue star-spangled bottoms, she has black, and why her gold like why it's basically red and black and silver and gold. Originally, Wonder Woman was created in the 40s as kind of a, fight the Nazis. Like, she actually would like go punch Nazis in her old comics, and the creators in the New 52 wanted to kind of remove that. Other than that, there's virtually no difference between how she is in the New 52, which are really bad. They're just awful. Yes?
So as far as the romantic relationship you were saying, I mean, do you think that that should not completely at all be in the novel writing process, or could that be more of a beeline story? What is your take on that?
Honestly, while romantic relationships do develop a human being, in a story that is about a quest of some kind, the romance really shouldn't be the A plot. It really should be a B or a C plot, just kind of like over there somewhere. If your character is going on a quest, or like Wonder Woman is fighting with a bad guy, or protecting someone, that should be the main focus of the story. It should really focus on not just what they're doing, like the quest that they're going on or the person they're protecting, but why they're going on the quest or why they're protecting that person. Yes?
you have any more female literary heroes that you admire you could tell us about?
Oh, a lot of them. There's a young adult series that recently concluded. It's called Legend. The 3 books are Legend, Prodigy, and Champion. They're written by Marie Lu. And while it's heavily romantic, it doesn't resolve in the way that romances in young adult books normally resolve. There's a very wonderful new series that just started to come out, and the first book is called Ancillary Justice, about what the reader presumes to be a woman who was formerly the artificial intelligence of a spaceship who is now stuck in a human body, which is absolutely fascinating. It's a fascinating book. And the protagonist, who is a first-person narrator, doesn't understand gender constructs and refers to all people as she. So it's called Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. It's very wonderful. It's a wonderful story. There are just so many. There's so many, but those are some good ones to start. Yes?
I grew up in the 70s and I really didn't like Wonder Woman that much on TV. I don't know, I just felt like she was there to look cute in her little shorts or something. I didn't like superheroes at all, to be fair. I didn't like the dudes either. But okay, I'm thinking like, me and my friends played a lot of our own Let's Pretend games, maybe for that reason, because we didn't have the characters out there, we had to make up our own, You see, I liked Joan Eichen. As a child, I liked Joan Eichen. She does a bunch of a series of books about this character called Dido Twite, who's like a little Cockney girl who's always trying to save the King of England from being assassinated. And let me see, Lloyd Alexander, he writes like a series of mythology, mostly Welsh mythology-based books, which are usually about like some long-headed young guy who wants to go out and be glorious and macho, and over time he learns that violence isn't all it's cracked up to be, and you should listen to your girlfriend more, Or he has like several where the princess has to dress up in drag to go out on a secret mission to save the kingdom from her evil uncle, stuff like that. And let me see. When I got to be an adolescent, I think it was mostly Anne McCaffrey in the Dragon Riders of Pern books, because there were some fairly active women there. So I don't know, we took little bits and pieces and made up our own ideas mostly.
Fortunately, kind of since like the 90s, there have been a lot more, at least vaguely admirable women in mainstream media. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the recent infographic on how women have been represented in movies during 2013. It is a particularly depressing thing, with women receiving something like 13% of all speaking roles in 2013 films. So, but in other news, November box office was pretty much smashed open by Frozen and Catching Fire, which both feature female protagonists. So there's a little hope out there.
Speaking of that, are you aware of the Bechdel test?
I am very aware of the Bechdel test.
Could you tell the audience about the Bechdel test?
Well, the Bechdel test is a test about whether or not you have a strong female lead or an interestingly developed female lead.
It's a great test.
It is. Basically,
my college, I'm proud of Alison Bechdel.
Yeah, basically, you look at this female character, and first you figure out if she talks.
If she talks.
Then you figure out.
That's the first question.
Yes, that's the first. Does she talk? And then you figure out if she talks about something besides the male protagonist, or to someone besides the male protagonist. Most movies do not pass this test.
It's really depressing.
It is. It's very depressing.
There's
Yeah.
You have to have 2 female characters that have names.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes they don't
There's
even have that.
There's also Kelly Sue DeConnick, who wrote the 2013 Captain Marvel. Also came up with the lamp test. If you can, for specifically comics, if you can exchange the female character with a sexy lamp, then it's not a strong character. And a lot of comic books don't pass this test either.
I think it was my high school boyfriend, who I can remember in the 80s, telling me that he liked he liked science fiction written by women better because male sci-fi writers could get away with only writing good male characters, but women had to write both. This is not a feminist dude, He was crazy because everyone on date is crazy, but he had that right.
I think with the Bechdel test too, they have to have names, they have to talk to some other female protagonists, and they also, if they talk to other women, they have to talk about something other than men. So if it's two women talking on screen, they can't be talking about, if they're talking about romance, it doesn't pass. To talk about. I mean, they can talk about romance in the movie, but they've got to have a scene
Something
where they
else.
talk about something else other than their men. So, yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
What sort of female-driven new comics are you excited about that we should check out?
I'm really excited for the upcoming Miss Marvel. The new Miss Marvel will be a Pakistani-American teenager.
I saw that. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited for that one. I very firmly believe that there are many, many ways to be American, but in comics you only see one, unfortunately. And as far as I can tell from the literature that's been put out so far, the articles that have come out, the new Miss Marvel will be, I believe, the daughter of immigrants. I don't think she will actually be an immigrant herself, but a second-generation American.
I just have one quick question.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the hypersexuality of the female superheroine and like how just like in general and just how like if we were to have like a real life superheroine, how they would actually dress kind of thing?
Functionality.
In terms of functionality, well, there are some pretty popular female superhero tropes. Like they mostly wear leotards for some unforeseeable reason. They also frequently have cutouts, like cleavage cutouts. Like Power Girl, she's got this like full body suit, except there's just like a big triangle right over her cleavage. And in terms of practicality, she flies. So if you're flying, kind of like leaned forward, you're gonna get really chafed right there. So one comic I think does a really good job kind of looking at rational and reasonable character designs is the Kelly Sue DeConnick Captain Marvel, where she wears a full body suit, like a full body, like cat suit kind of, except it's also long sleeves. And she also wears an aviator jacket. The character has a background as a military pilot, like a US military pilot, but in different interviews they talked about how if Captain Marvel was actually going to be flying, she probably would not want her skin exposed to air that's hitting her skin at very high velocity. So I think that it would be a little more helpful if they would go with the jacket design a little more. It's much more reasonable, much more reasonable. Yes?
What is your opinion on Black Widow from the Avengers?
Black Widow is kind of interesting. She, unfortunately, is not explored or fleshed out as much as the other Avengers. She's quite interesting. The comic character is very interesting.
She's getting her own movie.
Oh, she is? Okay. I didn't hear about that, but that's really exciting. One thing that's really interesting is that she knows that men have certain perceptions of her because of how she looks, and she uses that to her advantage, which is something that women have had to learn in different ways. I really like her. I think that she is more interesting than some of the other characters in the Avengers. And actually, I would really look forward to a movie about her. It seems really cool. Yes?
What's your opinion on Catwoman?
In the New 52 specifically, Catwoman's character design has her front unzipped to like here. There's this like big triangle of white space. I think that's very not realistic. I think she's really interesting as a character. She's very smart. She's very creative at solving her problems, even though most of her problems involve her stealing things. But one thing I don't agree with the costume design in the New 52, like I understand having a cat suit, something that's not going to snag or like flutter in front of a security camera or something else. But she wears all black so that she can move places unhindered and not seen. And it's not very good for there to be just like glaring white spaces in various places. So, yes?
With that said, how do you feel about the Catwoman movie that came out a few years ago?
Oh. Oh. I feel about that just about the way I feel about the last Airbender movie.
Oh.
Yes.
Since you were talking about all the different designs of costuming for women, female characters, if you could just briefly, because we talked before everybody came in, a little
Yes.
bit about that proposed redesign of Wonder Woman, because I really love that costume, and maybe people
Oh.
could go online and check it out, but you
Yeah,
could tell
it
them a
was
little bit
it was
about
really
that.
wonderful. Like it actually did run for a while before they canceled it to do the New 52. And she had kind of like jeans and boots, like kind of like combat boots, and something like a red sort of tank top with a black jacket on, and that was kind of a disguise. It was really
She
cool.
looked like she was in a goth rock band to me, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
She looked
I
more
thought she
a rock
looked like
and
a
roller.
biker. She looked really cool.
Yeah.
In my opinion, all the cleavage and stuff, that's for the male,
Yes.
the traditional male comic viewer. When do you think that the movies and the comics will catch up and recognize a female audience, or encourage a female audience with, more sedate design, less cleavage?
It's a long time coming, as far as I can tell. If you look at the promotional poster of the Avengers, Black Widow is the only one in a sexualized pose. Whereas like everyone else is kind of like raw and she looks sexy. If that's any indication, like same with Thor 2, New World, there's this kind of like sexy Natalie Portman being held by Thor, I think is how she's posed.
Thor too, so there was
Well,
a
yes.
little something for the ladies.
Thor's a little bit of an exception. There's a lot of Thor's arm shots. We talk about that at our staff meetings a lot. We appreciate the Thor arm shots. But sadly, I don't think it's coming soon. I think it will come sooner in animation than it'll come in live action. Because live action unfortunately has to sell a little harder. Yes?
How about the character of Liz Sherman in the Hellboy movies?
I have not seen the Hellboy movies, so I would not be able to answer that.
Good ones to take a look
Pretty
at.
good.
No, I'm biased. Guillermo del Toro, where it rocks.
It is, yeah, it's worth it. Hellboy's worth checking out. Okay. Is that everybody with questions? Okay, so we want to thank you. You're amazing.